The form sits on your desk, unsigned. It came with your 30-page benefits packet from HR. HR handed you the packet on your first day. New hire orientation, hot coffee, nerves everywhere, health insurance, dental, 401k. Somewhere near the back sits one more page, life insurance. You reach the life insurance page. You flip right past it. You don't read one line. You're 23. You just signed your first apartment lease. $2,400 in the bank. You check your bank account. $2,400. Rent is due in 18 days. Nobody depends on you. Not your parents, not a spouse, not a child, not yet. Your parents live independently, own house, own coverage, own pension. Your absence would change no math. The packet goes into a drawer. The drawer closes. You forget it exists within a week. You think about credit cards, not caskets. You think about rent, not remains. You're 23. A coworker talks about family coverage over lunch. You nod politely. You ask nothing. You move on. The word beneficiary sounds like something from a law firm brochure. You tune it out completely. The form sits unsigned for 6 months. You are not reckless. You are 23. Nothing has happened yet. You find out during a random lunch conversation. Someone in accounting mentions the company's group policy casually. You didn't know you had any coverage at all. It was auto-enrolled on your behalf. Day 1. You log into the HR portal from your desk. You search for benefits. You find one single line. There it is. $15,000 in coverage. 1 single year of your salary. Nothing more. You have never seen the policy document. You cannot name the beneficiary. You cannot name one detail. The beneficiary might still read estate, meaning probate, meaning legal fees are eating into every dollar. $15,000. It would not cover your car loan, not the remaining balance on it. It would not cover the student debt that your parents co-signed. That loan would pass straight through. It might cover a funeral, if your family picks the cheaper casket. That is the math. You click out of the portal. You don't do the math. You don't want to do the math. The policy exists because the company wants a clean line item, a gesture, a recruiting slide bullet, something to sit next to free snacks and hybrid work. The design is not really about you. You tell yourself you'll look into it later. You don't. The word insurance still feels adult. You're still operating on old math. You alone are responsible for nobody. That math is about to change. Your partner mentions it once, over dinner, a passing remark. The words life insurance hang between you. Your partner looks at you like it's a test. You do not have the answer tonight. You Google it that same night. 6 tabs open. You understand maybe 40% of what you read. Term, whole, universal, return of premium. Each one is a different shape of promise. Each one confuses you. The term is cheap and expires. Whole is expensive and builds cash value. Someone online calls it a scam. Someone else calls term insurance a poor person's product. The internet disagrees with itself on every page. You close the tab. The decision does not get smaller. You do not get smarter. You just stop. Eventually, you pick one. The cheapest $50,000 policy you can find. $12 a month, 20-year term, no medical exam. You're healthy. You're young. The carrier knows the odds clearly. You name your partner as the beneficiary. You type the name. You click confirm. The form goes through. You feel like an adult, a real one, with paperwork, with coverage. For about 2 days. Then life absorbs it. The policy becomes a line item, auto-deducted, invisible, $12 a month. You forget the carrier's name within a month. The policy exists somewhere. You cannot produce the document. $50,000 feels like a lot when you're 26. It is not. Not even close. You've crossed a line without noticing. No longer single financially. You are a household of two now. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. The nurse hands you something warm and loud and impossibly small. You have never held anything this fragile. You have never held anything this small. Your hands shake. You have never been this tired. You have never been this terrified. The weight is under 1 pound. You don't call the insurance agent that night. You call 3 weeks later. The delay is normal. By then, the math has rewritten itself. Your $50,000 policy is a joke, a coin toss. If you die, your partner must sell the house. There is no other version of the math. Your partner sells everything possible, moves back home, restarts a career. The child is raised mostly alone. The phrase single parent is a category you never thought about before. Now you design against it. You sit across from an agent in a strip mall office. Beige walls, fluorescent lights, cheap chairs. The agent runs numbers on a clipboard. 20-year term, $250,000 in coverage, $27 a month. The number is small. The coverage is 5 times your current policy. You sign before the paperwork is finished. You don't negotiate. You don't shop around. You sign. The fear of leaving your child with nothing is louder than the $27. Louder than everything. You walk out with a different posture. Not proud, not relieved, just heavier. Something has shifted quietly. That night, you hold your child a little longer. The policy sits folded in a drawer upstairs. The policy is a promise. Money is translated into a contract. Love is forced into a premium line. The second child is born. The first is a toddler. The house now holds 4 heartbeats. The mortgage is bigger. The calendar is full. Every Sunday night bleeds into a Monday morning. You sit at the kitchen table on a Sunday night. The laptop is open. A spreadsheet waits. You have never built a spreadsheet like this before. The columns are clinical. The columns are brutal. Mortgage balance, $412,000. Childcare, $2,400 a month. Both non-negotiable. College projection, $180,000 per child, conservative. Lost income, $85,000 a year, 20 years. You total the rows. Your $250,000 policy is not closed, not even close. You double the coverage on the spot, $500,000. The term stays for 20 years. Premium barely moves. You double it again. $750,000 in total coverage. Still a 20-year term. Still cheap. You add a $500,000 policy on your spouse. Not an afterthought, a correction. Unpaid labor has a dollar value. You realize that late. Years late. Embarrassingly late, really. If your spouse dies, you would need a housekeeper, a nanny, a night nurse, 1,000 invisible hands. Total monthly premium, $91 across both policies. You don't flinch. You click confirm twice. The naive version of you is gone. The one who thought insurance was a formality, gone. You run the household like a small business now. Cash flow risk, continuity planning, succession, all of it. You build a folder in a fireproof safe. Policies, will, beneficiaries, advance directive, built in one weekend. You don't talk about the folder with anyone. You know where it is. That is enough. Your friend dies at 44. No warning, no signal. Just a silent collapse in a corporate parking lot. Your friend runs marathons, eats clean, coaches the kids' soccer team. Nothing about the morning predicts this. Your friend collapses in a corporate parking lot after a work lunch. Under 90 seconds. No recovery. The autopsy says cardiac arrhythmia. Undetected. Untreatable. A heart rhythm shifting without warning. Done in minutes. You attend the funeral in a suit you haven't worn in 2 years. It still fits. Barely. The widow is composed until the second song. Then one hand moves to the face. The room holds. 3 children sit in the front row. 13. 10. 6. None of the 3 fully understands yet. The casket is closed. The closed casket is a mercy. The casket is the only kind thing today. 2 months later, you find out. The family lost the house. The bank moved faster than grief. The policy was $300,000. Group coverage through the employer. Paid off the car. Then vanished. The widow moves in with a sister. The 3 children change schools. Each adjustment costs something small. The life the family built becomes past tense in under a year. A full biography, erased quietly. You call your insurance agent the next morning. Before coffee. Before the shower. Before anything else. You upgrade term coverage to $1 million. 20-year term. The bigger number finally sits right. You add a disability rider. You review your spouse's policy. You double it. 1 million total. You update beneficiaries. You name a contingent beneficiary. You build trust for the children. Plane crash protection. The premium jumps to $240 a month. You don't flinch. Some lessons don't repeat. Insurance stops being a product. It becomes a load-bearing wall. Invisible. Essential. Catastrophic if it fails. You own a business now. Majority stake. 3 partners below you. 15 years of making this work. The build took 15 years. 3 rounds of partners. 2 restructurings. 1 nearly fatal year in 2019. You don't talk about 2019. The year revenue collapsed. The year everything almost ended. You keep it quiet. The business does $8 million a year now. Clean, profitable, structured. You are the majority owner. Your accountant introduces you to Keyman Insurance, a term you never needed before. You need it now. You sit in a conference room. CFO, attorney, insurance broker. 3 professional chairs are aimed at your decision. The broker explains it in 10 minutes. You already understand. The math has become native to you. If you die, the business does not collapse. The policy pays the company a lump sum, immediately, enough to cover operating expenses, enough to buy out your estate's equity, enough to keep the lights on. You structure a $3 million Keyman policy on yourself. You sign without rereading, no hesitation. Then you sign something you never thought you would sign, a buy-sell agreement with your business partner. Cross policies fund it. You own a $2 million policy on your partner. Your partner owns one on you. If one dies, the survivor buys the deceased's share from the estate. Pre-agreed valuation. Clean. Fast. No fight with a grieving spouse about what the company is worth. No 5-year lawsuit. No chaos. Insurance is no longer personal finance. Insurance is business continuity. The distinction matters now. Deeply. If you die on a Tuesday, your business operates on Wednesday. The machinery absorbs your absence, smoothly. Your personal coverage has quietly expanded, $2.5 million in terms, layered over permanent coverage. Permanent coverage sits underneath for estate purposes, designed to outlive you, designed to pay beyond retirement. Your insurance profile is a portfolio now, multiple policies, maintained annually, reviewed like balance sheets are reviewed. You no longer shop for insurance. You build it, structure it, layer it, treat it like infrastructure. You are 64. Gray at the temples is gray everywhere. The man in the mirror is a grandfather now. You sit in your estate lawyer's office, walnut paneling, no windows. The room smells like old paper. A binder sits on the desk between you. 3 inches thick, tabbed, indexed, alphabetized, cross-referenced. The binder contains your irrevocable life insurance trust. 4 words, decades of planning condensed into paper. Your $5 million permanent policy is no longer in your name. A trust owns it now. The trust is the beneficiary. Your children are the beneficiaries of the trust. You are separated. On paper, you do not own the policy anymore. That separation is the whole point, not ownership, distance. The reason is tax. The reason is always taxes. The government writes the rules. You design around taxes. Without the trust, 5 million becomes 3.2 million. Federal, state, probate, legal fees. All are eating quietly. The trust prevents every bite. Policy pays the trust. The trust pays your children. The IRS collects nothing. You pay the premium through annual gifts into the trust. Structured, legal, designed to last for decades quietly. Each gift fits under the gift tax exclusion. Nothing triggers a filing. The design is elegant, deliberate. Your son is the primary trustee. Your daughter is the secondary. The trustees act when you cannot. The trust document dictates distribution, staggered payouts, provisions for education, protection from creditors, protection from divorce. You have designed in writing what your money will do for 50 years after you are dead. This is no longer insurance. This is estate engineering. A different discipline, a different vocabulary, a different patience. You built the business over 40 years. You built the family over longer. Both go on without you. The last act, making sure none of it gets lost. Not to lawsuit, not to divorce, not to tax. You close the binder. You sign where the lawyer points. The signature is steady. The hand is older. You have become your own institution, an entity, a structure, a legal architecture that will outlive you for decades. You walk out into the parking lot. The air is cold. The light is gray. The moment is quiet. You don't feel victorious. You don't feel wealthy. You feel like a man who has done his paperwork. Somewhere right now, a 23-year-old stands in a conference room. First day, new hire orientation. HR hands over a 30-page benefits packet. The new hire flips through, pretending to read it. Health insurance, dental, 401k, and somewhere near the back, life insurance. The same page from before. The new hire skips the page. Nobody depends on anyone yet. The word beneficiary means nothing. The architect who built the trust, the business, the policy stack started in this same room. 40 years. The packet goes into a bag. The bag is slung over the shoulder. Orientation continues. Lunch is free. The new hire thinks this is about paperwork. It is not. It is about who depends on you.